If y'all can't see what I'm talking about, you're going to have to let me know because sometimes it doesn't always switch. It doesn't always switch over. So, Janine, this is the notice. I need to start recording. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. I am recording. Duh. Okay. So this is the notice of affidavit. This is specific for those of you who have been discriminated against so bad that you've already been terminated, will be terminated very soon, and been suspended, paid higher insurance premiums, whatever it may be. That's what a notice of affidavit is. And a notice is a warning, and an affidavit is a written testimony. So whenever you're giving them a warning of a written testimony against these specific people. So when you fill this out, we're going to fill out the governor, the Speaker of the House, the Speaker of the Senate, and the Attorney General, and those are called the four corners, and they will go on every notice, every affidavit, everything that you do. And then certain things will be a little bit different. This too, I left blank because not everyone is sending their notice of affidavit to United Health Group, Andrew Whitty. That's where this would go. Not everyone's sending theirs to him specifically. So I left this blank so people could fill out their CEO. So for Pennsylvania, say that again, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just trying. I guess the screen just didn't advance with you. So I'm still seeing the governor, the Speaker of the House. So I'm sure it'll eventually catch up. But the section that has the CEO, you said, is blank because not everybody is sending to Andrew Whitty, obviously.
That's correct. There's going to be some people who are sending them to different companies, different CEOs, and their needs are a little bit different. So I left that blank so people would have the option to fill that two out, necessary pertaining to their particular situation. Also, because everyone's in a different state, it had to be blank also because the governor, the Speaker of the Senate, the Attorney General, the Speaker of the House, the sheriff, it's all different. So whenever you fill this out, you're in Pennsylvania. So whenever you fill this out, your governor, you've already got the information. You gave it to me, but I'm going to click on it and show it to other people. Governor is Tom Wolf, and this you would put Tom Wolf because the governor's already put there, and then you would put the address, and you would just go down the line for your state. And most of the states already have this information because y'all have provided it. And there is the Secretary of State on most of these. You don't actually have to send it to the Secretary of State, but I put that information in the directory anyway because it never hurts. Tanya, what state are you in?
Hey, I'm in Mississippi.
So I'm going to show you Mississippi because it would be different for you. Be the information that Janine would put in and anyone in Pennsylvania would put in for the governor, the lieutenant governor, the Speaker of the House, and the Attorney General. So, and this is going to be the same information that goes into the JotForm. You're going to use this repeatedly.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so you would be putting in the governor, the Attorney General. Oh, I'm a little low. The Attorney General, the Lieutenant Governor, sometimes state by state, I want to say this, sometimes it's not called the Lieutenant Governor. Sometimes it's like the President of the Senate or something like that. Not every state refers to disposition as lieutenant governor. And that kind of gets confusing, but it's the president of the Senate. And then the Speaker of the House of Representatives. The lieutenant governor is normally the president of the Senate, the senators. So this would be the information that you would put in for Mississippi. I have a link for all of y'all to have this information to fill it in on the notice of affidavit right here. So you would fill this in. This would be specific to your particular state that you're in.
Yeah, that's great. So much.
Because we're sending these notices out also via JotForm, which we're going to have people actually come and do a meeting, but it's going to all of these states. And in fact, some of the states that it's going to aren't even listed, but that's because there isn't anybody in that state sending hard copies of notices. These are the states that are sending hard copies of notices and affidavits. So they are getting CC'd in all of these states to all the senators and all the governors, which I need to edit that because it's a repeat. Hold on one second. I need to change this while I'm thinking about it.
I'm going to ask a question then when you're ready, Jamie.
Go ahead.
Okay, so just to be clear, so when we say we're sending a notice of affidavit, we're sending hard copies. Like for example, I'm going to be sending them to Pennsylvania governor, et cetera, all those people we've talked about, hard copy. But then when you say that on the JotForm is sending it to, like say for example, maybe there's somebody that we don't technically have in the group right now. They're not sending a hard copy, say hypothetically, to Connecticut, but there's going to be Connecticut on there so that there will be an email format or notice, which is also an affidavit. It's just coming via email versus hard copy. Is that correct?
Partially correct. The notice in the JotForm is not, it's not under the penalty of perjury. An affidavit is under the penalty of perjury. A notice is a warning. So normally, if you've not been terminated and you have a termination date, like some people have a termination date in February, they'll send a notice because they have the time to go through the process and give the company time to reevaluate, readjust, and make changes accordingly to the notice, the warning. And when they do not respond or they do not change their policies or there's no change, then you send an affidavit, which is under the penalty of perjury, and that is a written statement of facts that you yourself hold and carry because you're the one that was directly affected by it. And when you send that affidavit, you will keep the original copy. It's got to be on legal paper, 8.5 by 14 legal paper, and you will go and get it notarized. And you will keep that original copy, notarized copy, and then you will make copies of that affidavit for every single person that you need to send it to. So the governor, the Speaker of the House, the Speaker of the Senate, the Attorney General, these ones on OMB, AMA, unless you have a fairly large group, I wouldn't recommend sending it to them just because of the cost. But you need to make sure that you get all your CCs in there. So for you, because you're not United Health Group, it would be 2, and then you would put United Health Group, and then underneath that you would put Andrew Whitty, and then his address, which I have for y'all. And then the CC would be all the people who had sent you emails stating that you were going to be fired, all the people that ask you personal information, and then that is who you would send your affidavit to. The reason the affidavit to the reason the people on Shalonda Young, Xavier Becerra, and Omar Khorshid are listed on this as a 2 is because they are also getting affidavits, but they're getting them from people who have more support. So there are some, for instance, I'm in Tennessee, but I'm in a county by myself. I don't have any help paying for this stuff, but there is a county in this state that has roughly 10 people. If 10 people put $25 together, they can easily mail this out. Whereas if one person tries to take the burden of paying for it, it's going to cost them a lot of money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I guess it does. I was just trying to make sure I clearly understood the written hard copy form purpose versus the jot form. Um, so the jot form is more of a warning, where the notice of affidavit is they've already like a penalty, like you said, penalty of perjury. So that's going to be a written hard copy. So like when you say CC people, so that would come through as a jot form, or like, for example, let me just give you a hypothetical. I noticed my manager's name was on that list. I'm not going to physically print out this notice of affidavit and send it to him, am I? Like a hard copy?
And okay, this is what I tell people. You send that notice of affidavit to every single person who has personally infringed upon your rights. So you need, if nothing else, you send it to the governor, the speaker of the Senate, the speaker of the House, the attorney general, your sheriff, and your manager. Because your manager is the one that fired you or will be firing you, right?
Well, according to him, no, it's UHG policy. So yeah, I mean, I'm technically fired now. So I don't know, but they haven't communicated anything. The whole thing, it's been really bizarre. So, I mean, because if that's
Your
the case,
manager, because he's enforcing this unconstitutional garbage. So your manager would be on there. Anybody who asks you about your status would be on there. So, yes, you would CC.
Well, when you say CC, I guess here's my question. So very specifically with him, like, so for him and even several of the VPs that were like VPs of our different therapy lines, I don't have their addresses. Like, I mean, I have email addresses, but I don't have their physical hard copy addresses. I don't even know where some of them live.
Our office.
Pardon me?
Have an HR office.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, we could do that. So you're saying just that. Okay.
Send it. Okay, so this is what some people have done, and I'm glad that you asked that because it's a great question. Several people have had the same HR people, and when they send in their notices and their affidavits, they'll get together and send their notices and affidavits in one packet to several people in the same office.
Okay. To save in mailing costs, have you?
Yes. And then what's most important is that receipt that you get back stating that they have received it. And if they don't receive it, especially the governor, the speaker of the Senate, the speaker of the House, and the attorney general, if they do not receive it, and the sheriff, if they do not receive your package that you've sent to them and send it back with a return receipt, then they are participating in maladministration, which is why you have a constitutional tort to begin with, because nobody's acting in the confines of their administrative offices. They're all out of their jurisdiction. So what the notice of affidavit and the notice do, they call them out on being out of their jurisdiction. So say hypothetically, well, it's not hypothetical, it's actually happened. Your manager says, hey, you're fired because you didn't get the jab. Well, they have decided to work outside of the confines of their office, of where they're capable of functioning under. So, and they have stepped out of their employment status and are working under a personal capacity. So whenever you send them a notice and they do not reply and they continue to do what they're doing, which they've already passed that because you've been terminated, when they do that, they are functioning as their person. Okay, so they're trying to hide behind the company, but they, as people, are the ones infringing on your rights. They're the ones going full steam ahead on this. They're the ones not asking questions on, is this legal? Is this ethical? What are the repercussions for me as a person? No, they're just going ahead with it and saying, I was just doing my job isn't sufficient. So you are serving them in their personal capacity. So when we get our grand juries, you have evidence that they knew everything that they were doing wrong.
Okay. So technically, anybody you want to see, you really then I would want to add other people like VPs and so on and so forth, other people that I felt had participated in this. And
Absolutely. Okay, so I got on the notice, there's a huge CC list. The only reason I didn't put it on this is, like I said, some people are not with United Health Group and they needed it to be blank. But I have the notice filled out with everyone CC'd in it that y'all contacted me and said, hey, these people are giving me issues. So I can give you that list and you can be like, yep, you're it, and just add who personally affected you. Does that make sense?
Yep, I can get that from you then. All right, great.
Drop it in here in a second. So this is the title of the document. It's a notice of affidavit. A notice of a constitutional tort, which means there are constitutional issues going on. Notice of de facto government agents functioning under the color of law. That means these administrative offices that are there for our benefit are acting outside what they can constitutionally do. If they are working in their personal capacity to infringe on your unalienable rights under the color of law. And those definitions are in here. I encourage anyone who hasn't to read it. I feel like it's pretty well broken down. If you have any questions, I will certainly get to it, but I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's kind of long. It says, notice to demand to show clean hands and federal partnerships. A lot of the issues that everyone's having right now is because they have taken money. And in order to take that money, they have entered into a contract without we the people. So they have entered contracts on behalf of we the people without the consent of we the people. And they're called unconscionable contracts. And the definition is in this notice. And, you can read it. Every single notice and notice of affidavit will have this clause right here, and it goes all the way to due care. It's a little bit different for a notice and an affidavit. Because this is an affidavit, it has the term affiant. Affiant, correct me if I'm wrong, Kathy, means self.
Yes.
It says, I come now. So you are presenting yourself in the court of record So I come now myself, and then your name. Hold on one second. And then your name right here. And this will be the same for the notice, except for it will say, I come now, then your name, or some version of this. It's not exactly the same. People write them differently, and that's okay. But it has to identify yourself. And we'll get into that at a later date. So it says, I come now affiant, your name, one of the people as found in, this will be your state that you're in. And when you do the JotForm, when we go over the JotForm here in a few minutes, this will auto-populate whenever you fill out your address. So you won't have to worry about this little section. And then it has a blank right here. And this blank is the clause that says all power is inherent in the people. And I'm going to pull it up so you can see for Pennsylvania. And then, Tanya, what state did you say you were in again? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I'm in Mississippi.
I'm going to show Pennsylvania and Mississippi for this particular area right here. And this will be the same for the JotForm, which we'll be going over here in a few minutes. Can you see this? This one's from Mississippi. It says Article 1, Section 1, Powers of Government, which I need to edit it a little bit. It's Article 1, Section 1, and then this I need to erase.
Yes, I can see it.
Powers of the government of the state of Mississippi shall be divided into 3 distinct departments, and each of them confided to a separate magistrate, to wit, those which are legislative to one, those which are judicial to another. Okay, that's not the right clause. I'm going to have to correct that. I'm sorry. I'm going to look it up right now.
So basically, what you're doing, Jamie, is you're quoting the respective state constitution for so for example, in this case, Mississippi State, of how they violated. I'm probably using the wrong terminology, but the constitutional rights. So you're stating how they're violating not only the United, but each individual state constitution as well, and you're marking that section of the constitution for that state.
Absolutely. Yes, that hit the nail on the head. And Kathy, would you say that this preamble is the inherent clause for Mississippi?
We had the same issue in Florida. Ours is in the preamble. Although there isn't much weight in the preamble, that's where it's stated. There's just a few states that it's like that.
So for Mississippi, in that little area, that little section, which I'm going to go back to this document so y'all can see it. Right here for Mississippi, it would say preamble. And like Kathy was saying, they're not all like that. Each one is different. For the state of Tennessee, it's Article 1, Section 1. Let's look up what it is for Pennsylvania. Okay, so Pennsylvania is Article 1, Section 2, Political Powers. All power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness. For the advancement of these ends, they have at all times, and inalienable and indefeasible right to alter, reform, or abolish their government in such manner as they may think proper. So you would put Article 1, Section 2 right here in this little area for a notice and an affidavit. That will be the same for your state no matter what. So I'm going to go down to the bottom. Excuse me. And we're going to go over the verification. So for an affidavit, you have to get it notarized. And most notaries, almost all notaries, you're supposed to fill out the entire document in its entirety in front of the notary. So you will take your unfilled out document. You can fill out certain parts. You can fill out the governor, the Senate, all that. But whenever you start getting to the beginning where it talks about your name, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kathy, your name, your state, your inherent in the people clause specific for your state, and then you'll go down to this, and this will be filled out partially by the notary, and you will sign it, and then the notary will fill it out and stamp it. And you will keep that original document, and you will make copies on legal paper and send it to the four corners that go on every single notice and affidavit, and then your specific to, and then the CCs. And there's different ways of doing this. So whenever you start seeing these, you'll be like, well, hers is different than this person's. Everyone has their own style. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it wrong. What does make it wrong is not having this clause right here correct, or not having this. Notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. That has to be in every single everything, because that's letting them know that they're supposed to be notifying each other and making sure everyone's up to speed, so there's not any confusion, saying, hey, I didn't get that. I don't remember that. They can't say that, because this is saying y'all need to be contacting each other and telling each other about this notice or affidavit. And each one says, one of the people is found in your state, and then the inherent in the people clause comes sui juris. This is so important. This has to be here. Sui juris means you are in sound mind, capable of making your own decisions, and you don't need an attorney, and you don't need anyone speaking on your behalf, and you certainly don't need a state medical apartheid. And in this court of record, when you are identifying yourself sui juris in the court of record, you are identifying yourself as one of the people right here in your state under that clause that says power is inherent in the people. And then you're telling them that they need to provide due care. And due care means mindful. They need to understand their duty. That's what due care means. And then, you give them the business, the meat and potatoes. So that is the affidavit. Do y'all feel comfortable with that?
So Jamie, at the bottom where you were showing us where we would get it notarized, there, like on that one section, it said in the state of Tennessee. So obviously this says executed, and this would be, I need to change it to Pennsylvania for me, right? Okay, there we go. All right, thanks. So we just fill that out.
Yes.
All right, got it.
Would this be the county, Kathy? Did you hear me? I don't know if my mic was on. Would this be the county right here, executed in? think she's having issues with her mic. I'm pretty sure that this is the county and then the state and then the day and then the year, the written out year in its entirety. So for today, it would be on this 19th day, 2021, Obion, for me, Tennessee. And then you would sign it and then you'd be done. They'd be filling out what they need to fill out. Okay. And then, oh,
Hey, Jamie,
yes.
can you mention about the importance of in this court of record?
Yes, I'll repeat it because it's very, very important. So whenever you send a notice and an affidavit, there are some people who argue about the whole notice thing, but we don't do that here. It's good practice in everything that you write, because eventually y'all will be writing your own. We are going to teach y'all how to write your own. You always put sui juris. And while we're here, I'm going to see if I can pull it up, what sui juris means. Because for me, it actually helps to understand the definitions. Okay. Sui juris means full social and civil rights, not under any legal disability or the power of another or guardianship, having capacity to manage one's own affairs, not under legal disability to act for oneself. So when people get an attorney, they are giving power to that attorney over them. That's why things don't really work out in the court system the way it should. It's because people are not identifying themselves, and on top of not identifying themselves, they're not even in the proper jurisdiction, which there are land, air, and water jurisdictions. We are on land. That is common law. That is the constitutional law. So when you say in this court of record, that is referring to the law of the land, which is common law, which is the state constitutions and the United States Constitution and Bill of Rights.
Never, ever, ever remove that statement. Sui juris in this court of record. Your document is the court. That must stay in every document that you do. It's imperative.
Because when you're identifying as sui juris, you're identifying, again, as one of the people as found in your state saying, hey, I'm over my government. The government doesn't govern me. I govern my government. I'm sui juris. I'm capable of doing it. And I want it to be in this court of record. In the court of record. In this court of record specifically. So that's the common law court of record. And you back it up with all the constitutional provisions that are in your notice and your affidavit. So they know exactly where you're coming from. You might be a little confused and need to see it and read it a little bit, but these attorneys, they know exactly where you're coming from. They know exactly what this means. And it's kind of interesting because a lot of these attorneys, when they go into different jurisdictions, because they have arguments about jurisdictions, they'll say, you have no standing, you have no standing, you have no standing. Well, this clause right here, sui juris, in this court of record, is your standing. This is how you get standing. If you don't have this in your documents, you're not going to have standing. They're just going to throw it in the trash. They're going to be like, this guy doesn't even know what they're talking about. And I'd like to say too, a lot of attorneys don't know this either. A lot of the attorneys don't know, they only know statutory law. They don't know common law. So this is you as one of the people coming in your sound mind under the common law court of record stating how the cow eats cabbage. All right. Does anyone have any more questions about the notice of affidavit?
No, but I just wanted to say thank you for explaining all that, because that's something I had no idea about, and it's really good to know those things. So thank you for explaining the definitions so well.
Well, that was the thing that I struggled with the most whenever I started this was I am one of those people where I want to know exactly what I'm doing, what I'm participating in. And I had to look up these definitions and understand what they meant in order to be able to write these, in order to be able to understand them. Because if you're writing them and you're planning on pursuing this path and you don't understand what it is that you're saying, if somebody asks you a question about it, you're going to look like a fool. And what we need is education. And it's not difficult education. It's not most people, if they had been taught this in elementary school, it would have just stuck with them forever, like where to put a comma in a sentence. So, it's not overly difficult. It's just overwhelming because people are so under pressure right now, which makes everything, a little more intense, actually a lot more intense. So if y'all are good on the notice of affidavit, we'll go to the JotForm. Everyone good?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Me too. I'm good.
Okay. Okay. So let me see. I'm going to, let's see.
Doing well, learning lots. Thank you.
Awesome. That's what I like to hear. That's what we need.
Jamie, do you have and you may have already mentioned this, I don't know, but a list or a document or something that says, okay, when you go to, for example, when we have to do the certified mail and get the return receipt, and we're sending the governor, speaker of the house, attorney general, sheriff, and then obviously to the respective employer, and those people there. Do you have a list of like exactly who you recommend us sending the hard copies to? Because
What I'm about to I'm about to put in this other document that I just dropped. So whenever you click on it, you'll be able to see it. So let
okay, and
me
this is
find
in
that.
Telegram. Okay, okay,
I just dropped it in Telegram.
awesome. Thank you so much.
If you read these instructions and they're not clear to you as someone just starting, let me know and I will adjust them because I need this to be pretty much as cut and dry and as simple for people as possible. And it's already a little bit overwhelming. And, it's a lot of information in a very short time. So we need to try to cut out as much confusion as possible. See this?
Yes.
The notice is going to be just like the affidavit, but it's going to be a little bit different because You're not going to be able to see the entire document at the same time that you're filling it out. But I've tried to break it down in the JotForm so people don't feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. So we're just going to start, and if you have any questions, just continue to ask questions. The title, so people know that it's a notice of constitutional tort. That means you have an issue, a constitutional argument, a constitutional, I can't think of the word right now. Kathy, help me out.
I'm sorry, Jamie. What did you ask?
Constitutional tort is, it's not an argument, it's a case. Okay, so it's a constitutional case. You're bringing them a notice of a constitutional issue. And then you go on, and there's several issues in this document. So you go notice of de facto government, notice of widespread government maladministration, notice to demand to show clean hands in federal partnerships. So there are several things that you're identifying in this document, and they're broken up into different titles. That way there's no confusion about how the cow eats cabbage. And in a notice, you do notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. That is telling them that they need to be identifying, they need to be getting with each other and making sure everyone is aware of the situation, that there's everyone's on the same page. Yeah, I'm sorry. So a constitutional tort is every person who, under the color of law, any statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage of any state or territory, subjects or causes to be subjected any citizen of the United States to any discrimination, part of it's cut off, other person within the jurisdiction thereof, to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities. So it's basically saying, hey, we have unalienable rights that are being infringed upon. That's what a constitutional tort is. That's basically what this document is.
It goes to the top of the next page. They loaded out of order, but it says secured by the Constitution and laws shall be liable to the party injured in an action at law, suit in equity, or other proper proceeding for redress.
That's exactly what y'all are doing. You're coming with them with a constitutional tort. And whenever you read those documents, they ask for them to explain where they have the authority using the Constitution to do what they're doing. And they can't do it. So they automatically acquiesce. In a notice, this is what Kenna told me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kathy. In a notice, you don't put a date for them to reply. You kind of give them a good faith, but you give them, I would say, about 5 business days. And then if they don't reply in 5 business days, then you come at them with an affidavit. If you're short on time, then you will send that a little bit earlier. But because y'all are sending affidavits immediately, you don't really have to worry about that. Yours has a 3-day time span. You can change that at any time. But 3 days, I feel like, is sufficient enough for them to get their lives together and find out whether or not they're going to be good people or bad people. So in this JotForm, I have listed all the people that it's going to go to and kind of broken it down similar to what it would be on the hard copy of the notice so people know who it's going to. And this is not the full list. This is nowhere near the full list. This is going to every sheriff, every representative, every senator, every attorney general, every governor, and every HR person that I've gotten an email for. And then I added these CCs because if somebody looks at this and they're like, well, Joe Schmo from, O'Reilly's didn't let me in the store for not wearing a mask. He's not on this list. You can CC him in there. And not on this page. This is just showing kind of a little bit of the document, just kind of a soft open of the document before you actually go and fill in it. It says only fill in CCs if your CEO or HR people aren't listed, because some of these people are going to be filling out this JotForm and they work for different companies, so they will have to use the CCs. But the United Health Group people shouldn't have to add anybody, and if they do, it should only be like 1 or 2 people. And some of y'all won't have to add any. So I'm going to skip. I'm going to show y'all what I've done. Y'all, my microphone's been off this entire time. I was filling it out and I was talking.
Oh, that's a shocker.
Did y'all have any questions about how to fill it out though?
Can you do it all over again?
Sure. Absolutely. Because I
With with
can't
my
believe nobody said anything.
with mic on? I know we
Yeah,
were
with the mic
silent.
on.
Sorry. So sorry.
No, it's okay. It's all right. I was like, wow, they're really retaining the information here. Okay. Hold on, let me see. I want to go to here, click it again. Okay. There we go. Can y'all hear me?
Yep, we got
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So, I guess was it off the entire time?
Yep.
Okay, so y'all didn't even hear this spill about this.
Oh, no. We're fine on the tort. It was when you started filling out the jot.
Oh, okay. All right, good. So, and did y'all get to hear about all this?
No.
Okay. So this is the list, and I just put this here strictly for people to kind of understand who it's going to, and to know that the CCs, all the people that are CC'd are already getting the email, and they will also be getting a hard copy because y'all will be sending in your notices and affidavits. And so if the name of the people that have infringed upon your inalienable rights are not on this list, you will have to CC them in. I added the CCs, even though you don't actually fill them out on this page, just to show kind of the format. Because me personally, I'm a visual person. I want to see kind of what it looks like on a form. That's why these are blank, to show you that you're going to have to be filling out the governor, the president of the Senate, the speaker of the House, and the attorney general, the four corners again. So, and then all the people that are CC'd in are also, I've got emails for all these people. Every single person on this list is getting an email. And then the CC, you only add the CCs if your person is not listed here already. So if you look and they're not listed, add them as a CC and let me know so I can add their email into the shameful list. So these next 6 slides are just going to be CCs. Not everyone's going to have to do them. It's going to be like the affidavit where it's blank, where some people don't necessarily work for United Health Group, so they'll have to put the CEO, the HR people, the managers, and everyone. So that's why there's 6 of them. So people who aren't associated with United Health Group per se can still participate and send in a notice. And everyone that's on this list, everyone that sends this out is supporting what everyone else has already done. So it's showing them that y'all are united and they're like, oh crap. So we're going to just skip through these. There's 6 of them. Most of the United Health Group people won't have to use them. And if you do, it will only be like 1 or 2, and that's because of your HR people. If you have to fill it in with the name. I'm just putting this woman's name from CMS just as an example. Okay, she works for CMS and then she's a CEO. So put it like that to save on space. Use abbreviations for the name of the company if you can, just to save on space. And then, okay, I'm going to fill this out again. You put your name, hit next. And then for this one, for your address, you do not have to have your physical address in its entirety. What I do is the street address, the county, and the state, and then that's sufficient. And whenever you fill this out, your county and your state, it will auto-populate in part of the form. So in the notice of affidavit here, where you put your state, you won't have to fill it out on the notice because it will auto-populate because you put that in whenever you did your address. Also with the county.
Quick question.
Sure.
On the address, do you want to do the C/O as in care of and then your address? Just a question.
I don't know. That's a question for Kathy because some people do, some people don't. I've seen it both ways.
Yeah, you can do it both ways.
So it's just basically whatever you're comfortable with. But whenever
Okay.
you open this up, it says provide due care. So you do cover it in the document.
Oh, right. Okay.
And it says your state governor's name, William Lee. This will be specific for your state. So like this up here is specific for your state. So the notice. So I'm in Tennessee, so I'm going to fill this out for Tennessee. Use abbreviations to save on space. And then I'm just going to put some zip. Hold on one second, y'all. I got a tickle in my throat. Okay, I'm back. So like I said, this will be state specific. And I'm in Tennessee, so I'm just doing a generic version just to show y'all how to fill it out. And stop me if you you have questions, which y'all have been doing awesome. Some people let me just talk and then be like, hey, I got a question about this from like 30 minutes ago. And I'm like, what? All right. And this information is right here. So I'll be adding directories. I'll be adding more and more directories as we go on. So I want to have all 50 states here, but these are the states that I have right now. So whenever you click on this, I'm going to click on Georgia. Okay. There we go. So when you click on Georgia, it shows you the information that you need. The Secretary of State is there. You don't have to fill that in. That's not, you don't have to add that. You need the governor, the Speaker of the House, the Lieutenant Governor, and the Attorney General. But most of these are already there. And if they're not, I'm working on getting the addresses in there. That way, anyone who clicks on this can get all the information that they need right there at their fingertips. The all state constitutions right here, all on this form. So you will have help while you're filling out your notices and affidavits. You will be able to click on these and have the information there so you don't have to hunt and dig. So we'll go back to this. I think this is the last one.
Quick question.
Sure.
On that form you just had where you had all that information, I think you had 5 states there.
Yes. I will be adding more states.
Can I help you, assist you? Can I assist you is the word, with the Washington State information?
Absolutely. That would be great. If
Okay,
you could
we can
put that
take
in
that.
a Google Doc.
Let's take that offline after this, and we can work on that.
Well, okay, so what I do, the way these are, these each have their own. So this is its own document. And then I have, let me show you. Okay, so this isn't even all of them. We've got Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas, Tennessee, Oregon. The reason I haven't put them up is because I don't have the addresses yet for the governor, the Speaker of the House, the Lieutenant Governor, and the Attorney General. So I have to update them before I start adding them in here. But we're working on Louisiana's done. Sherry, which I don't think she's on right now, but she's been helping me get the emails. We're getting all the emails because we're planning on serving all the sheriffs in all 50 states a notice via JotForm, and then also backing it up with a hard copy. Once we get more members, excuse me, I'm sorry, and then serving the hospitals. But do y'all know who Vaccine Police is?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Vaccine Police is supposed to be coming and on the chat tomorrow evening to discuss some of this stuff that we've been working on. So I'm focusing on Louisiana specifically because if you've been paying attention to Vaccine Police, he has a February 7th deadline to arrest the governor for forcing vaccines on children.
That's
So
right.
we want to back up what he's doing and get these sheriff's notices out for him specifically because he's got a date and we need to make sure all these sheriffs are notified in Louisiana prior to this happening, and hopefully, God willing, which I think you will, have sheriffs that will actually support Christopher in the arrest and do it because that's their job. That's what they're meant to do.
That's their job and that's their oath.
Right, absolutely. So we're going to hold them at their oath, and there's a deadline. This is the first time in the country there's actually been a deadline. I'm very excited about it. So I'm hoping we can kind of get as much of this done before February 7th. That way we can just hopefully, as people start participating, get go from state to state and start handling it like that on a state to state basis. And if these sheriffs in these states that are constitutional sheriffs could get together and we could crowdsource funding to pay for them to go make these arrests, I have no problem doing that. I'm sure no one here has a problem doing that. But we need to notify them of their duty because at this point in time, they're constantly going through attorneys, attorney generals, and they're being like roadblocked from being able to do, or it's more of a mental block than anything. They don't understand their position because attorneys have come and said, oh, well, I'll handle that, or you don't know the law, or, they've just twisted everything. So we need to notify the sheriffs. And once we notify the sheriffs, hopefully we'll have enough that will assist and go from state to state. And I believe that's how this is going to have to happen.
Can I add to that a little bit in Washington State?
Sure, yeah.
I don't want to get away from you where we're at on the JotForm, so let me know if not. I'll be quick.
No, go ahead.
There is one constitutional sheriff in Washington State. It's Klickitat County. Sheriff Bob Songer. He was on the CSPOA podcast a week or two ago with Sheriff Mack. I was on the phone with Sheriff Bob Songer this week, about 4 days ago. We talked about arresting the governor here. He can do that. His consternation is this state and the system is so corrupt, who would actually prosecute? That's where he's stuck.
So that's great question. Well, it wasn't a question, but anyway, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be petitioning the grand juries. And and some states already have, but, a lot of states are just now kind of understanding what's happening. So they're moving a little bit slower, but we're going to be petitioning the grand juries because these grand juries are meant to function under common law. What has happened is these attorneys have taken over our grand juries that are already set in place. Nothing has to change except for the attorneys. And they have taken them and turned it into statutory law, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, Kathy, admiral law. It's under admiral law. So we are being forced into admiral law, which is specific for soldiers when we're supposed to function under common law. So these petitioning the grand juries is like, hey, we know we're not getting what we're supposed to be getting, and so it's going to be a chain of things. And I think when we start notifying these sheriffs about what's going on, I don't believe that there's going to be nearly as much division as what people think that there is, especially when they realize their authority and that they know that they have the support of the people. So that's the goal. And
I agree. I agree.
ambitious.
Real quick, the sheriffs would all have different attitudes if they knew there were, I'll say it, millions of people standing behind them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't think these sheriffs have been taking payoffs like the hospitals, the administrative offices. That's why I don't know who it was. There's one state that's trying to abolish sheriffs. Sheriffs are basically the last line of defense between us and the globalist.
Indiana.
So it's big.
It's trying to pass a bill. Yeah.
So this is very ambitious. Kathy, she's got her own group. It's called New Solutions, and they work on notices and affidavits, and they're working towards the same goal. They're working on different states. I'm going to be working on different states. We're planning on having constitutional sheriffs come speak. We hope to organize constitutional sheriffs and crowdsource funding for them to go state to state and make these arrests.
Jamie, why is crowdsourcing necessary for them to do the arrest? How does that work?
Because if somebody's in New York and they're a constitutional sheriff, they might not necessarily be able to afford to go to Texas, Georgia, Florida, wherever they have to go to make these arrests. So we need to pay for them to be able to travel to go make these arrests with these other sheriffs. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't realize they could leave their own state and come and do something in another state.
I'm not really sure if they can or if they can't, but I imagine they can because this is a interstate commerce constitutional tort. And it might come down to us having to write what is it called? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but we would have to write a document stating that that is what we wanted and be specific as to who we want to go and do that. And then they would have the authorization from we the people to do something like that in the court of record. Do you agree, Kathy?
Yes. Now,
Okay.
usually what happens is that when let's use my state. Say you had DeSantis was going against the people in the Constitution. No, let's use Whitmer. Let's use Michigan. Okay. She's against the Constitution. The people are rising up. One or two sheriffs in Michigan that are for the Constitution, but the entire state of Florida with DeSantis is like, take her out. what's going to happen is that you've got to have one constitutional sheriff in that state. Okay. So Florida will work with that sheriff, send an officer from here to there, and go take care of it. It's like,
Like a car. Sorry.
no, you're fine. It's like it's like at the federal level when you have the marshals and the FBI and stuff like that. Anytime
That's
somebody
so
from a
funny.
different
That's what I
agency,
was thinking.
yeah, anytime law enforcement agent crosses the county line, that county sheriff has to be notified and actually give permission. We've had a couple of incidences here in Palm Beach County where the sheriff has notified that agency. You go from point A to point B, no stops. And he sends a car and escorts that all the way through the county. There's no stopping. And there's a reason for that. So there is a process in order for that to happen. And it's done through interstate agencies. All parties have to be on scene. At least one that represents.
The common law jurisdiction.
Correct.
Amy, were you able to speak with Brian Bailey in Mississippi,
Was I?
or was someone that you know?
No, I haven't. I haven't had a chance to start contacting these sheriffs and asking them if they would like to come and speak and kind of explaining to them what it is that we, the people, want and expect. Because my town, my area got completely ravaged by tornadoes. And then even if it hadn't gotten ravaged by tornadoes, I've been so busy building the directories that I haven't had time to personally speak to them.
Yeah, I understand. That was just a question. I didn't know if you did or not. I've been too busy.
Oh no, I would absolutely I would love to get to a point where I'm calling them and being like, hey, 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 what's up? It's time to shine. But no, we're not quite there yet. So, I do, Kathy, she has had chats where, what was his name? Mike Carpinelli, I think is his name. He came and spoke, and I would like for us to start also having sheriffs come and speak, and then keeping our eyes on our county sheriffs as a whole collectively, and doing I guess little meetings where you can be like, oh, I went here and talked to my sheriff, and this is what was said, and then we start logging who is a constitutional sheriff, who's not a constitutional sheriff, and who's not really not unconstitutional. They just need to be educated, and then go from there, which it's going to be a lot of work, you guys, but it's going to be so worth it. So worth it.
Jamie,
So I'm going to get back to
you were correct on the sheriff. It's Sheriff Mike Carpinelli. He's actually running for governor in New York.
which I can almost guarantee you that he's going to get it because God is amazing.
Yes, amen to
So,
that.
Amen.
so it says
I'm sorry, one
sorry.
more second. If you all can remember that name and spread that far and wide in your groups, Sheriff Mike Carpinelli, I'll go get his contact information and his website. But the more that you mention his name and get it out there, the more people will take a look at him.
Kathy, can you get that information when you do and post it on the wall? Then I'd love to have that information. Thank you.
Yes, he spoke in our group 3 times already, and he's
Excellent.
fabulous. You would fall over if you heard him talk, And, you know, you give him everyday life questions, and he is amazing. He's ex-military. He is walking, living, breathing the original intent of a sheriff.
Wow.
which is amazing in New York.
Wow. Yeah, please post that information. That is just awesome. That is awesome news. Thank you.
So I'm going to go back to the JotForm and explain this, which we've already gone over it in the affidavit, but this is the JotForm. So it says your constitutional clause stating all power is inherent in the people. For me, in Tennessee, Article 1, Section 2. And then for Mississippi, we've already covered that. It's the preamble. In Pennsylvania, I think it's Article 1, Section 2 also. Yeah, Article 1, Section 2. And this section right here is this part of the document. Right before you say, cum sue juris. So I'm just going to put that in there. That'll be different for everyone. And on this notice and affidavit information to complete JotForm, that's on there. It says all state constitutions, power inherent laws. Next, autograph it, date it, email. Okay, so you'll get a completed PDF email of this. You will get it sent to your email whenever you completed it. And then I've got the very, very end. At the very end, you can read the entire document before you hit submit. That's just what this is. You do or don't have to read it. You can, you don't have to. And then you click submit. All right, I can't get this to work. So I'm going to go to the Gmail and show y'all how it will show up in your emails. Okay. Do you see how it's filled out? Can y'all see that?
Yes, very cool.
Yeah, that's great.
So it will be a little bit confusing starting out, but I have faith that y'all can get it. I'm also here if y'all have any questions for any reason. And then look, that's a crappy signature, and I forgot to put the date on it, but
That's a doctor's signature. Can you get me some ivermectin, please?
no, nobody gets ivermectin anymore.
I can.
Who said that?
Let's
So Jamie,
Jamie, we'll talk.
Kathy,
It was Kathy.
you need ivermectin?
Yeah, I was kind of making a joke, but if somebody can get it, yes.
Yep, they're individual 12 milligram. That's one dose.
I will reach out to you.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
so Jamie, when you were talking about the area where there's a place to offer or enter CCs for people that weren't listed there. So, like for example, say an HR person that I dealt with the UHG that I want on that form. So I'm going to type in the name, but then I have to let you know so you have the correct email for that person.
you need to send me their email, make sure I have it so I can add them to the naughty list.
Okay. All right.
So they will get an email every time somebody fills out this document.
Okay. And then one more question, and I'm really sorry that for some reason I'm just not digesting this, so I apologize. So I am going to be sending an affidavit because I've already been terminated. for
Correct.
religious exemption. But I can also do the JotForm. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
And I
In fact, I encourage you to do the JotForm.
should do both. Okay. All right.
Yes. And then hopefully more people will join, because I know that Pennsylvania, South Carolina, North Carolina, there's a bunch of people who aren't in this chat right now, but I know for a fact that they want to be involved. And we're going to start sending out hard copies of the notices. So whenever you fill out the notice, there's going to be designated people in these states that physically print out all the notices so that they can send a hard copy together. So I've done it several times in my state. So if you fill it out and Rami fills it out, Kathy fills it out, Tanya fills it out, Jennifer fills it out, Sandra fills it out, everyone that fills it out, I'll print all of them off. It doesn't matter what state. You don't have to keep the states organized whenever you're doing a notice. Print all of them off and send them to, what I normally do is I take $5 from people in my state that want to send a notice, and that covers all the costs. So I can send it to everyone on the list except for the CEO and the CCs, which is what they will be responsible for individually. So hypothetically, you're in Pennsylvania. If you had a group of people to do this with you, you could have them print, y'all could delegate who prints off all the notices, and then crowdsource the funding for the packaging, and send them off to everyone in Pennsylvania, and plus these people also. Does that make sense? Did I explain that well?
Yeah. No, I did. I'm still confused about the notice, because this says notice of affidavit of constitutional tort.
Yes.
So, this is the notice of affidavit. This isn't the JotForm. We're back on that one. I guess it's just I'm still not really clear the difference between the two. The JotForm, which is the tort, the constitutional tort, and then the notice of affidavit.
They're both a constitutional tort. The notice is a warning specifically. It's not under the penalty of perjury. It's not going to be, Kathy, how would you explain it? The difference between a notice and the notice of affidavit. A notice is like things aren't that serious yet, but they're getting there and you're warning them. Even though you're sending the notice of affidavit, affidavit means their time's up, they've already stepped on toes, and there's no more, and that you have demands. The notice is like, hey man, oh, go on. Did I cut somebody off?
No, I don't think so. But a notice, the main difference between a notice and an affidavit, a notice is kind of like the yellow light. Hold up, we're going to go red and you need to stop. Okay, it's the yellow light. It's a warning. Don't do this. You know how you correct I compete with this rooster. Every time I talk, he crows. A notice is a warning, like when you're correcting the kids. I wouldn't do that if I were you. All right? Or you're going to get a spanking or punishment or something like that. Okay, so the notice is a warning. You're fixing a tread on me. I wouldn't go there. The affidavit is, now you've done it. You've caused an injury. You've violated my rights, and I'm coming for you.
So here's my question. Why does it say notice of, I think maybe it's just the terminology. It says notice of affidavit on this form that's open right now. It's showing on the screen. So I think I'm confused because it says notice of affidavit. Is this a notice or is this an affidavit?
It's an affidavit.
Okay. Okay.
So then, what is
penalty
the notice? If that's the affidavit, what is the notice?
Just notice. Just a notice.
Have
It's
to be-
plain.
Have to be notarized. You just sign it and date it. And whenever you send it, it's documentation that they had a warning before you serve them an affidavit and that you're going through the proper steps for recovery of injuries lost.
Do you have to do the notice first?
Depends on the situation.
Okay.
Most times you do a notice. You give a warning, right? Just think about the kids. You don't just walk up to a child and start spanking or dish out a punishment, right? You got to tell them what it is. That's what a notice does. A notice by affidavit is the next level. It's a statement of truth. This is where you went wrong, and these are the punishments for what you did to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And JD, I'm kind of stepping in, so tell me to back off, and you want to talk because you're sparking a lot of questions for me, and I want to thank you for that. And I'll speak to Washington State. We're way past the notice. I mean, and I don't know if it's been if they've been notified that they're going to get spanked. I don't know that, but they're way past that stage. So it's almost like they need the notice one day, and the very next day they need the notice of affidavit then. Does that make sense?
Yes. Usually we give 3 days. That's usually the shortest amount of time.
Right. That's right. The 3 days, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I have written them to cease and desist immediately because it was a crisis. We still wanted to get the notice in. However, it is a process. You do have to allow for time, opening.
Yeah.
The secretary gets it to that person. They look at it. Okay, get the attorneys, get HR, call the CCO. It's a process on their end. So we don't want to be unreasonable.
So where is the notice at? We're looking at the notice of affidavit. Where is the notice? Did we see that already? Am I being stupid?
The notice can be the exact same document minus the affidavit certification verification and the words affiant.
Oh, okay.
A lot of times because and then the penalty, right? The penalty at the bottom, the remedy.
Yep.
So they can basically be the same document. Or you take the notice and you build it to an affidavit. You put in your verification and your certification for the notary, and then you add the words affiant. When you do that, you are swearing, subscribing. You're taking an oath that the document is true, because it's also referred to as a declaration of truth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, JD, would it help? Because I'm kind of in the same boat you are. I think, would it help if we saw like a template of a notice and then a template of the notice of affidavit, which I think we already saw, but we're not seeing the template of the notice.
I've got it up right now. This is the notice. The only thing that's different about this notice is, as you can see, it looks exactly the same. Hold on, the notice.
Jamie, I need to step out for a second. I'll be back.
Jamie, you're muted.
Can't hear anything.
It keeps on muting me. Okay, I think I've got it fixed. Okay, so this right here is the notice. This is the warning. This does not have to be notarized at all. The notice can go into a JotForm, and they can get that notice, that warning, via email. However, it's best to back it up with a hard copy, so you have those certified receipts stating that they got the warning. And then once they go past the warning, which, like Kathy said, is the green light, they'll get a red light, which is the notice of affidavit. Well, like Kathy said, the notice can be exactly like the affidavit. The only difference is, as you can see, it looks, which I'm going to make this bigger. Is that better for y'all?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
As you can see, it says the same exact thing, almost. So it says I, and then you just put your name. It doesn't have, which I'm going to the notice of affidavit right now, and I'm going to make this bigger so y'all can see it. It doesn't have the come now affiant part. The reason it doesn't have the affiant part is because an affiant is the person filling out the affidavit. They're the person who holds the knowledge of facts. So in a notice, you do not have to put that, the affiant part. That's specific for an affidavit under the penalty of perjury. And I know what's throwing you off is the notice of affidavit. The reason it says notice of affidavit is because it's a warning of an affidavit, because they have already terminated Janine and certain other people. So they have already gone past the warning stage. So they have already gone so far beyond correction that even if they do correct the things that they've done, there has been exemplary damages to the affiant. So that's what the notice of affidavit is about. This is specific for people who have already lost their jobs, or they have been denied services. I'm going to be sending one of these into United Health Group because our premium has gone up. This is specific to somebody who has already been stripped of their unalienable rights. Most of the time, for people who have lost their jobs or been suspended and things of that nature, or they have a termination date that doesn't allow for the whole warning, affidavit, notice of default process. Does that make a little more sense?
Yeah, for me, yes. Thank you.
It does.
Yeah,
And like,
that helped a lot. Thank you.
like
So
of us,
so was is there another term when you call it the notice of mal? There was another word, mal in
Maladministration.
is that the same thing as what this notice is? Or is that different?
There are going to be notices of maladministration, and they're also going to be a notice of a constitutional tort. So
Okay.
the reason they're going to be both because of the maladministration, the gross maladministration, you have a constitutional tort, and that's what you're identifying in the notice, you're identifying the issue, where the issue, because it says notice of de facto government agents functioning under color of law. That's describing and telling them the circumstances surrounding this constitutional tort. And then it says notice of widespread governmental maladministration. You're explaining to them that they're using de facto government agents functioning under the color of law, which those definitions are in the notice. You'll have to read those and kind of like absorb them to understand what the title actually is saying. So it's saying warning of de facto government agents functioning under color of law, notice of widespread government maladministration, notice of demand to show clean hands in federal partnerships. So you're saying, hey, I've got a constitutional issue. We've got de facto government agents functioning under the color of law, using their offices to infringe on unalienable rights is basically what under color of law means. And there's a notice of widespread government maladministration because they are functioning outside the jurisdiction that was granted to them by we the people, in according to your state constitution that says power is inherent in the people. And like I said, I've got that on a document, and you'll be able to pull that up and fill it out right here. And this is a notice. This one right here is just a notice. And you will know the difference between a notice and a notice of affidavit or just an affidavit because of the very, very end right here. Right. See that this is different? Go to the very end on this one so you can see the difference. So you just sign this and you date this. And then on this one, you get it notarized. And the notarized, you get it notarized because it's your written testimony of what has occurred and what is happening and how they're infringing on you. And you use the Constitution to do that. And whenever it's a process. So when you send this, their attorneys, what's been happening is their attorneys have been saying, oh, don't worry about that. That's nothing. And so these people continue to do these wicked deeds because they're ignorant. They're ignorant to the fact that they're breaking the law because they're just yes men. They're what my dad calls useful idiots. So they don't ask questions. They just follow orders. And so you send them a warning. That way, if they genuinely don't know, which most of them don't, they can correct it. And some companies have corrected it. We've had great success with this. But a lot of these bigger companies like United Health Group, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Brookdale Senior Living, Siemens, I could go on. But they're so big that they think that they're above the law. That's why it's so important that we all participate. But the notice specifically is a warning. A notice of affidavit is whenever you do not have the specific time to send the notice, an affidavit, and a notice of default. It's an emergency. A notice of affidavit is an emergency. So you use it in emergency situation. And most everyone right now at this point in the game is in an emergency situation. But we send the notices out via JotForm because they do not have to be notarized to make sure that this warning gets to as many people as possible. That way, when we do finally get our grand juries, and we will, it's just a matter of people getting on board and everyone working towards the same goal. We can be like, no, we've got this. Look, we've got this. Look at all this evidence. They knew. They knew. They can't say that they didn't know. So does that make more sense?
Jamie, can you go to the top of the notice of affidavit again? I have a question.
Yes. The very top or this
Right
part?
there, right there. Okay, so now
Okay.
I have seen things called, notice of demand, show clean hands as a separate item. All those things as a separate item. Is this a true statement? Like when you have multiples, like you've got at least 3 things that you're telling them about, is that when you start to call it a constitutional tort?
No, the constitutional tort was something that I personally decided to do because that's what it is. At the end of the day, it's a constitutional tort. And if you look into the what is it called? The Hippocratic Oath and doctors and medicine, they they specifically, that specific group of careers have provisions and laws about constitutional torts. So that's something that I chose to do myself to be more specific for the United Health Group's needs. So when their attorneys see constitutional tort, pardon my language, but their buttholes are going to fall out.
So you could still call it a constitutional tort even if you only had one of those demands down there. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll say this. Okay, so you're only demanding one thing. So you're warning of a constitutional tort. You're saying, "Hey, I've got a constitutional issue and I'm warning you about it." I'm also warning you of these government agents who are functioning outside their office, which is under the color of law. I'm also warning you of widespread government maladministration because of these de facto government agents. And then I'm also warning you that I want you to show me where all this money came from pertaining to COVID. So you're only asking them to do one thing. Most of it is just a statement of facts. Does that explain it a little bit better?
Yes, thank you.
And most people, okay, so most people who've been writing these, they're in the very, very early stages of writing them. So when you see them, it will say notice of de facto government agents functioning under color of law. And that will basically be the only thing that it says, because people make these specific for their specific needs. Well, because I write these for people in all 50 states, no one person's situation is exactly the same. However, these are pretty much constant issues, no matter what state you're in. Constitutional issues and these de facto government agents. And I'm going to go down here and find out. See, okay, I'm going to read this to you so you understand what it is. De facto officers: one who, while in actual possession of the office, is not holding in such a manner prescribed by law. So when it says by law, we function under common law. And these attorneys have misconstrued the law. They have put statutory law on us, which is only specific for our elected officials. So statutes are not meant to be put on us, free people who govern our government. Our government is governing us when we are supposed to be governing our government. So because they're telling us what to do, instead of doing what we tell them to do, they are using their possession of their office to hold they're holding it in such a manner that is in their own personal interest, which goes against the law. And so, color of law: the appearance or semblance without the substance or legal right misuse of power possessed by virtue of state law and made possible only because wrongdoers clothed with authority of state is action taken under color of law. So does that kind of explain this a little bit better?
Yes, and also one more time, is this notice of affidavit to be notarized, or this is just to be signed only?
Okay, so the way to know if it's to be signed only is the verification down here at the bottom. So if it has this verification and it says signature of notary jurat, then that means you have to go get it notarized. But almost all of our notices will be going on a JotForm. And then that JotForm, so as you can see, I've got several of them going right now. Let's see.
So then to put it on a JotForm, you would just strip out the notary portion of it. So the title of notice by affidavit does not necessarily tell you whether it's going to be notarized or not notarized. It could be either or, but you just have to look at the bottom. And the one on the JotForm is never a notarized copy, correct?
Correct. Yes, that's accurate.
No.
Oh, no?
No. A notice will never say notice by affidavit. The
No, but
affidavit,
when it has the title, though, notice by affidavit, it could be either a notarized one or a non-notarized one. Am I correct on that? If not,
No.
correct me, please.
no. It would never say affidavit. Affidavit means it's notarized.
So I'm a notice. Okay, so if it's just a notice, it will never be notarized. If it says notice of affidavit, if it says affidavit at all for any reason, it will be notarized every single time. An affidavit is notarized under the penalty of perjury. So I understand why you're getting confused, because the notice of affidavit and then just a notice is kind of like what? But the notice by itself, just notice, is signed, and it can go on a JotForm, and it's a lot more loose. You can add more CCs. The notice of affidavit, it has affidavit in it. So anything that says affidavit and has the language affiant, it has to be notarized under the penalty of perjury. And that's how that goes. Does that make sense?
And cannot be put on a JotForm, correct?
No. As far as I'm concerned, affidavits cannot go on a JotForm. However, because you are sending in copies of your affidavit, you could fax them in, but you really need to send them certified mail with a registered return receipt, because that's how you get it in the court of record. It has to go through that postal system to get in the court of record and to show that it's been, I guess you would say, processed, because you use the postal service to process your court of record. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
I have a document.
Oh, sorry, James. I'm working on becoming a digital notary, but that's at the national level, and that's a huge deal. When that comes, we'll be able to put the affidavits in the JotForm, as long as you have the notary that's capable and certified to do so.
That's great.
Would like to get my notary also, but I'm just like drowning in work.
Can I ask a quick question about the Postal Service? What is the difference between the corporate postal service and the, say, common law post office? Is there a difference?
Yes, there is a difference. The difference is the United States Postal Service has been and always will be under common law. And the way the United States Postal Service works is it is like a post that processes fax. However, because these agencies have come and started postal service, people don't understand the all the jobs of a postal service. And because, like, okay, FedEx is not a postal service. There's a difference between sending mail and then having your mail processed through the United States Postal Service. And I can't go into extensive detail about that, but I know that the difference is one of them is funded by We the People and the rest are funded by private companies. Is that correct, Kathy?
Yes. I'm working on having somebody from the post office come and do a talk to go over what we do with the certified and the whole process and what that post actually means. You know, we say words so frequently that we really don't identify with the meaning of what they are, right? So
When will you have that? Is that when you have that person, the post office person, will we all be able to attend that?
Yes.
Great. Excellent. And thank you.
Do you all have any more questions?
No, thank you. So, well, I guess just a summary maybe. So, I'm going to go ahead and do the affidavit form. I'm going to do all the I'll read the instructions that you put there on Telegram just to make sure I do everything correctly. If I have any questions, I'll reach out. But also, I'm going to do the JotForm and anything I need to add as far as CCs in terms of anybody that needs to be on these forms for the JotForm. I need to let you know, right?
And whenever you fill out the JotForm, make sure that you go and look down who has already been CC'd to make
Right.
sure that your person has or has not been, I guess, targeted.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And if y'all have any questions, I'm available. I'm more than willing to help. And if it comes down to it and it's just kind of overwhelming, I have no problem doing a video on a one-on-one basis to explain it. I was kind of hoping people would come on today and that we could get it pulled up together and go through it together. That way, if anybody had questions, I could answer them right then, but it didn't work out that way, and that's fine. Sometimes it's better.
Hey, today was a great success. Small group, but what comes to small groups, larger groups. Once we're all trained and look at who we can train, I found today very, very valuable. Thank everybody.
Jamie, you are
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you so much. I agree with you, Rami.
Thank you, guys. Kathy's pretty amazing too. She's helped me so much, and she can help y'all too. So,
Yeah, you're all
don't.
awesome. We appreciate it.
Jamie, when someone prints this out and sends the hard copies, do they send it just to the target people, or are they obligated to do one for every single CC that's listed?
Oh, okay. Good question. So, for the notice by affidavit, unless there are people in your area that you can get together to fill out the affidavit with you or send out notices. Okay, so you can send the link to this notice to your friends and family, and they can fill it out, and then you can print out, because there's probably going to be a lot because there's so many people in so many different states. So, for instance, Janine's in Pennsylvania. Well, she can get her friends and family to sign that Pennsylvania notice, and she can put those notices that they filled out in with her affidavit. So when she sends them, and then also they can split the cost. So if she's the only one sending it, I would send it to the Four Corners and the sheriff and then her CCs. Whereas if she has a group, she can send it to more people over here. Because these people have already gotten a notice and an affidavit. I'm just keeping them on the list so they know that they're not off the hook. So I would send it to, depending on your situation, if you can get a group together, I would send it to everyone that you need to send it to. I would get the money.
I'm so sorry, I'm late.
So when you
Thank you, everyone.
say all senators,
Okay, so whenever I say all senators, I'm stating this specific, you don't have to send it to all the senators. When you send it to the Speaker of the Senate, it's his job to get it to all the senators. The reason I CC'd this is because we have every single senator in the JotForm associated with these states. And also it says all governors, attorney generals, lieutenant generals, and speakers of the House for all these states. So it's letting them know that this information is going out to all of these people. And these people, if you have the funds and can send it to them, because they're the ones that are writing the guidelines. They're the ones pushing it. They're the ones taking the money. These people right here. A lot of y'all probably only recognize Fauci, but these other ones listed are actively infringing on your rights through their mandates, policies, whatever crap that they're using, verbiage that they're using to deceive you. So the governor, you'll send it to the governor. You'll send it to the Speaker of the Senate, which is also the lieutenant governor. Normally, it varies from state to state. So when the Speaker of the Senate gets it, he will tell all the senators, or he's supposed to, and that's what notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent, because they're principals and agents, and they're working for us. So the Speaker of the Senate will notify all the principals and the agents. The Speaker of the House is over the House of Representatives. They will notify all the representatives, and I need to add that in. Oh, that's huge. Oh, it's because I blew it. Okay.
boy, I sure know why you called this one Guns Blazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, I spent a lot of work on this. I'm not even done yet. So, but it's important that they all know that everyone is screwed. We know that you know that we know. That's what all this is about. And then the Attorney General, you need to send it to, if nothing else, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people plus your CCs. So if your manager's razzing you, you need to add your manager. If you've got an HR person razzing you, you need to add that manager. And for the notice, which I'm going to go to the top because this is the notice, and this is the affidavit. So I'm going to refer to the affidavit as the affidavit, even though that it says notice of affidavit. I'm just going to refer to it as the affidavit. So the notice, as you can see, is a lot more filled out. And that's because it doesn't have to be as specific as affidavit to that particular person, because you don't want to serve somebody an affidavit in a different state that you've never spoken to before, that has never done anything to you, and you don't know. So that's what the CCs are about. These are the people that you specifically know that have actively participated in stripping you of an alienable right. Whereas this has everybody who wants to participate, they can fill it in. They can participate, and then they can also add other people. So every time you fill this out, it's supporting what people have already done in different states and continue to do. So it's kind of just snowballing, if that makes sense. So, does anybody have any more questions?
I don't. I'm going to run. I want to thank everybody. It was nice to meet everybody, and I'll talk to everybody soon.
Okay, you have a good one, and we'll be doing classes after the new year.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'm going to jump off too, Jamie, and thank you to everyone. It was really helpful. Appreciate the questions and the guidance and the commitment. So I will definitely